Welcome to Confirmation Bias, presented by the League Ambassadors.
I'm Ambassador Kenny Ken, and I would be a professional tennis player if I didn't have to return a serve. That's my confirmation bias.
I'm Ambassador Junior Blue, and Serena broke a lot of hearts when she announced she was pregnant, and that's my confirmation bias.
I'm Ambassador Dad, and just like in life, methamphetamines does not help you in tennis, and that's my confirmation bias.
I'm Red O, and my son does not have a choice. He will be a great tennis player, and that's my confirmation bias.
Welcome to Confirmation Bias, hosted by the League Ambassadors. As a reminder, please follow us everywhere on social media. Our handle is @TheLeagueAM. Visit our website at theleagueam.com. As Ambassador Devin says, sharing is caring. We like it, that you like it, but please share us. He doesn't quite say it like that, but he did.
I'm glad he doesn't.
On the show today, we are going to talk about tennis. And who better than to lead us down tennis lane than our resident tennis dad, Ambassador Red O.
Damn, you set me up.
Red O, baby.
Red O, baby.
See? Stop. Yo, tennis is old as dirt. Oh, God. They have been playing, the origins of tennis goes back to the 12th century. Really does.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, you know, the funny thing is we think of tennis today with a racket. These fools didn't even play with a racket. They played with their hand. They was just too stupid to call it handball. So the funny thing is racket, the original word of racket comes from, the original meaning where it came from was actually the palm of your hand.
Okay.
So they just extended it. They started using the what we use today as a racket, but it goes back to the 12th
So
century.
it was essentially like what handball is, and they were
Yes.
hitting the ball back and forth to each other?
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, we don't need to talk about 12th century shit. Like,
Why not?
you know, so come on, man. First of all, these are rumors. Nobody knows. It's fucking 12th century. I mean, so, you know, today we're going to talk about modern tennis. What is considered modern tennis, real tennis, or royal tennis. And we'll talk about those rules. The game of tennis is played on a rectangular court. The court is 78 feet long. There's a 3-foot 6-inch net that goes across the court. The full width of the court, which separates the courts into two halves. Each half of the court has two boxes outlined called the service box. There are two types of tennis games: singles and doubles. Singles is two players, one on each side, playing against each other. Doubles is two players, two players on each side playing against each other. The most popular version of tennis is the singles match. They're basically similar, different rules, a little bit different rules, but basically same game, just more players. Each player has a racket, which is basically, lack of a better word, a stick with a hoop on it at the end with with strings that crisscross it that allow you to hit the ball back and forth. A tennis ball is slightly smaller than a baseball, softer than a baseball. It's covered with fibrous type felt. Usually, if it's a sanctioned tournament, it'll be what's the word I'm looking for? The color.
Neon green.
Yes. Sorry. The object of tennis it's simple. To hit the ball across the net into each other's half of the court without them being able to return the ball. That's the simple part. The rules of tennis are pages and pages long. You know, if somebody just tell you all you gotta do is hit it back and return it, that's easy. But the object is simple. The rules are more complex. So we don't even have time to go over all the rules of the governing rules of tennis. But I'll break it down to as the ones that we need to know about as easily as I can. So to start a tennis game, players take turns serving and receiving the ball. The game starts with the server from the right side of the court. He or she throws the ball in the air with the hand that's not holding the racket. And before the ball hits the ground, the racket is used to hit the ball across the net. The ball has to clear the net and land in the service box on the opposite side of where he or she is serving from. The serving player has 2 chances to serve correctly. If neither is served correctly, then the point goes to the receiver. Once the ball is put in play, it is hit backwards and forwards between the players until one of them fails to return it properly. The last player to return it properly gets the point. Points are scored if the opponent cannot return the ball. The ball is hit into the net. Let me start that over. Points are scored if the opponent cannot return the ball, or if the ball is hit into the net, or allows the ball to bounce twice before hitting it. This one is funny. Throws the racket and hits the ball, which I've seen my son do.
I've seen professionals do.
And I've had to yell at his punk ass because he don't pay for that racket. And rackets ain't cheap. Mm-hmm. See you throw that racket again. Your voice get a little deeper. Yeah. Yeah, I took that one personally. Or if you touch the net, can't touch the net if the ball is in play. If you hit the ball more than once before it crosses the net. So those are basic rules of playing tennis. Again, like I said, there are pages and pages, but that's about playing it. There are 3 components to winning a tennis game. It's first you have a game, then you have a set, and then if you win those 2, then it's match. So it's game, set, match. To win a game, let's see, so you must win 6 games to win a set, and either the best out of 3 or 5 sets to win a match. Both the game and set have to be won when one player is ahead by 2. So you have to win by 2 regardless. The server score is games are scored 0, which is used love. Instead of 0. We'll get to that later too. 0, 15, 30, 40, deuce, advantage, in or out. The server scorers is set first. So if Kenyon and Junior Blue was playing and Kenyon is serving and it's love 15, that means Kenyon has 0 less Junior Blue has 15. That way you always know whose score is who. Players have the score. It goes up to, like I said, score goes up to 40. You have to win by 2. So let's say back to Kenyon and Junior Blue. Let's say the score is 40-40.
Mm-hmm. Deuce.
Which is it's just deuce.
That's right.
That's what deuce means. They both have 40.
Sorry.
So at that point,
old habits die
basically
hard.
Damn. And then, you know what? I'm in mode, so I wasn't even paying attention. It went straight there. So once you're at deuce, then you, like I said, in order for you to win a game, you have to win by 2. Mm-hmm. So if you're serving, you serve it And if you win that point, you have an advantage. It's advantage in.
That's right.
If you're the receiver and you return it and the server doesn't return it, then it's advantage out. So if you're the one with the advantage, if you win the next point, you win that game.
Right.
And games are till 6, and you have to, like I said, win by 2. If you get to in a set, if you get to 6-5, you have to win by 2. So if it's 6-6, then you have to have a tiebreaker. Then at that point, it's a 7-point tiebreaker. It's a little different. You play to 7 points. It's no longer 15, 30, 40. It's just by point. And you need to stop. He over there telling me I'm right.
Oh shit.
So yeah, my son's here, so it's fine. It's the same thing. If you're serving on the tiebreaker, you serve, and then instead of serving the whole game, you switch after each point. At least the first time, and then it's after every 2 serves. Then once one person wins a set, most sets are either to best out of 3 or best out of 5. And then at that point, that's when you win a match. There are 3 tennis governing bodies. There used to just be 2. One was the ATP, which used to be professional men's, professional women. The women broke off, and now they have the WTA, which is the Women's Tennis Association. And so the ATP is men's, professional men's. Women have WTA. Then there's the ITF, which is the juniors. That's when you know you in the game and you up and coming. So at that point, then there's 4 major tournaments. You have the Wimbledon, which is the oldest tournament. Started in 1874, if I'm not mistaken, which is a grass court. Yeah. Which is always weird to me that this court and they playing on grass. Then there's the French Open, which is the clay courts. So it's a clay surface. It's hard, but it's softer than the other 2 tournaments, which are basically concrete surfaces, which is the Australian Open and the U.S. Open.
That's right.
So those are the 4 major tournaments. The Australian Open used to be clay. They changed that from clay to hard court. So you have 3 surfaces now. You have grass, clay, and hard court. Let's see. Tennis, actually, we could talk about the what do you call that? It's an expensive sport. Speak on it, Omar.
That felt personal.
Testify. Man, listen. The thing is about tennis, it's time consuming. I'm speaking as a parent who is trying to I just want to get my boy to college.
That's all.
If you want to be good at tennis, it's time consuming. It's funny because it's one of those sports. It's like golf. It's a singular sport. You are out there by yourself on your own, and it's all about you, and it's about your will. You have to want it to play tennis. Other team sports, it's a little easier, but those rackets aren't cheap. Right. String. If you the older you get, and my son is getting to that age where you starting to break these strings of these rackets. And the funny thing is, you're like, okay, get you another racket.
You play with your hand like they used to do. Like the good old days.
But it's the coaching is expensive. It's a I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. It's a coastal sport mainly because usually it's an outdoor sport. There are indoor tennis places, but it's usually California, Florida. Those are the biggest hot spots in the United States. It's obviously a big sport overseas. It's a worldwide sport. I was debating on whether we should talk about the racial aspects of it. I mean,
Well, that could be an answer to one of the questions.
Like it always is.
especially for me.
You know what? Then that's what we'll do. I'm going to throw a question to you guys talking about tennis. Is tennis a mainstream sport?
I would say it is not. As far as when we look at sports in this country, it's hard for a individual sport to be a mainstream sport, I think. I think, again, it's just me, but it's not popular in urban areas. What I can say, though, is in Baltimore growing up, we purchased a lot of tennis balls, but we did not play tennis with them.
We play basketball.
No, we played baseball with them. So we wouldn't knock anybody's windows out. So if you go to any gutter in Baltimore, there's at least 7 million tennis balls, especially in Northeast Baltimore.
Wow.
But are there a lot of tennis courts out there or no?
No.
We bought them
for
baseball.
we bought
They
them for
came
baseball.
3 in a pack.
Yeah. So for me, it's one of those sports, and I may not look like it now, but I used to be an athlete. But it's one of those sports you just can't go out there and start playing.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
And like you said, it is expensive. In order to play the sport, you can't just like pick up a basketball and go to a court and start shooting. You need lessons to play tennis. And since you need lessons, and lessons cost money, there's a segment of people that don't always
And
get
lessons
those.
aren't cheap.
It's a hard. It is. Tennis is a sport where if you want to be good at it, that it's going to take a lot of hard work and a lot of money.
And a lot of
And a lot
Yeah,
of time.
a lot of time.
It's an investment in time. There was a point where I was like, you know what? I'm about to go sit in the car because I'm sick of watching this. Like, even if I'm just there, though, you know what I mean? Like, but it's hours upon hours of watching him play tennis.
But one,
Oh, go.
I'm about to say, one reason I don't think it's mainstream is because 3 out of the 4 events are across the pond, basically.
Yeah.
And you got to be really hardcore to be up at 3 to 6 a.m.
For the
in the
Australian
morning.
Open.
Well, even Wimbledon comes on at like 1 in the morning. You know, their finals come on especially for the West Coast.
Yeah.
It's horrible time. So how can it possibly be mainstream here?
To piggyback off of what Devin said, and this is interesting. I was having a discussion with someone, and it's that individual aspect which we've talked about. But think about American culture, right? You think about government. When we think about government, we look at the Congress, we look at the Supreme Court justice.
We are looking at them.
We are looking at them, by the way. You look at business, right? With business, it's about departments. You have departments, you have business units, you have groupings. You look at just our society, the basic unit of American society, of any society really, is family. All of these are sort of group, team-oriented experiences. And so I think more than any other sport, because even with golf you got a caddy, right? So you see the interaction between the golfer and his caddy and giving him directions on which club to use, which shot to take. With tennis,
You can't even talk to your coach.
with tennis you are solo dolo.
And boxing is one of the most individual sports.
Exactly.
And you have a trainer.
And you have a trainer in the corner. You get a
Every
corner
3
to come back to. Exactly. And I think that as a culture, we just gravitate towards that sort of team dynamic, that team experience.
Yeah.
We want to root for the team because
But-
it's what resonates
But
with
also,
us.
going back to my points too, I mean, unless Ethan can shed some light on this, can you practice tennis alone? I mean, like you can go and dribble up and down the street and work
Yeah.
on your handles.
All you need,
All you need is what?
A wall.
yeah.
Yeah, well,
But no, it's first of all, which brings more money into it. There's ways to do it by yourself. You can get a ball machine.
Okay, that's money.
Then
Right?
yes. Then if you're by yourself, you can always practice your serve.
yeah, exactly. That's what I was
So
going to say.
You
There's
get a basket of balls.
Yeah, there's
you
parts
sit
of the
there
game.
and you serve till your arm fall
Absolutely.
off.
Okay.
And your rest is when you go pick up them damn balls and start on the other side.
Right. So, but and that's if you're in tennis like that. But like if you're just somebody like, because everybody here has played basketball with that cat that's never played, but he's played. Oh, we need 5. You're the last dude. You got to play.
Right.
Tennis. If you ain't never picked it up before, you're not into it like that, and you don't have anybody to help you, you don't have any money. Where do we go from here? Type
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, there is no such thing as someone who didn't have a coach and was great at tennis. It's not happening. Because first of all, it's to learn how to serve, you have to have someone there telling you to flex and pronate. And that shit is crazy.
Man, learn how to hit the damn ball.
What did you, wait. What did you just say?
Flex and pronate.
See?
That's a $13 word.
Right. And it's weird because I've seen my son go through it where it wasn't natural for him to do it. And now that motion is like breathing for him.
Yeah.
You know, so but that's something somebody has to watch and tell you you're not doing it correctly because you won't know.
Right.
There's no way to know these things.
Right.
I don't care because you can watch, but until you do the motion, it's unnatural.
So let me ask you this, Omar, in your opinion, who do you think who would you say, and we're talking about now players, who's the Michael Jordan of tennis, in your opinion?
Ethan J. Henderson.
Tell us why.
Because I'm putting it out there, he's going to be great. There's nothing else in my world that's going to tell me he ain't going to be
Omar
great.
Ball.
Omar Ball.
Starts today. 4:20.
Hey, Les, you got another shirt.
Omar Ball.
I think a couple of us have Serena Williams.
Yeah, we got Serena. I said Serena Williams as well.
Why you think Serena's the greatest?
Well, Serena is the greatest because, number one, let's look at the money. She's made the most money,
Not even playing.
than any female in sports, period. She's made more money in tennis than anybody, period. But then I think, an easy parallel to make with Serena Williams is obviously Tiger Woods. We talk about, how homogenous both tennis and golf are.
They were not inclusive.
Exactly. But the thing about Serena is with Tiger, there were more PGA golfers that were black in 1960 than there are today. In tennis, there are more African American women and players today as a result of the success and the prominence of the Williams sisters, Serena in particular, than there have ever been. In fact, you look at the top, I believe, if you look in the top 10 American tennis players that are women, 6 of them are African American. So she's had that sort of transcendent impact like MJ. And then her success on the court speaks for itself. She's won more Grand Slams than anyone.
Yeah. Not even playing.
So
that's who you think? Who's your MJ?
I had Federer as my MJ. I mean, I know me and Dev had that.
Which is hard to argue with.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things that, I mean, man, he had number 1 ranking for 302 weeks.
Yeah.
Like,
Most ever.
It's like, I mean, so it was easy for me to pick him.
And their resurgence, I'm sure, is helping. The current resurgence he's on right now.
I think Serena turns 36 this year, and so does Federer. So, I mean, they're both right there.
Difference is Serena just got pregnant.
Yeah.
She might be done, but I think with her,
I don't think she's done, but
we'll see. I mean, she's married now.
If
he got super bred.
If her math is to be believed, she won the Australian Open pregnant.
Yeah. Which is ridiculous.
That's crazy.
Rena, you gonna let him do that? Just because she got married and she pregnant, she gotta stop? That's what Ambassador Dad just said.
Not where I was going.
That's what you said.
I'm saying she ain't
She got
to do
married. She pregnant. She ain't playing no more. She barefoot and pregnant.
I'm married now. Nah, but I think with Les, I had Federer. Most Grand Slams. I think with Serena, the difference is once she became who she became, and she was always that. There was no parallel. Like it was like men playing against the boys. Well, with Federer, there was a lot of contemporaries that he had to beat and some ghosts that he had to hunt down. I mean, the 18 Grand Slams, third most titles in the open era history.
Yeah.
He won every single Grand Slam that there is, all 4 of them. And someone who you would consider probably number 2 in the men's would be Sampras. Sampras didn't win all of them.
Right.
So he
clay courts
was wearing him out. Yeah.
killing people.
28 Grand Slam
but
finals too.
That's a lot of. There's a lot of people who that clay court is their enemy.
Like Nadal though, he loved it.
He loved his
he
clay.
kills
the
on
clay.
that.
Some people are built for that clay.
Yeah.
Les, who's your biggie?
My biggie was Maureen Connolly. 1951 to 1954 she played. In 3 years, she had 9 Grand Slam titles.
Wow.
And ended up riding a horse, falling off, crushing her legs. At 19.
Can't play tennis without your legs.
At 19. So think about this. She had 9 Grand Slams at the age of 19.
Wow. That is dope.
Yeah.
You want to change yours, King Ron?
No, that is dope. I don't want to change mine because Mr. Bjorn Borg is one of the greatest tennis players ever. He only played 7 years,
Yep.
16 Grand Slam titles. He's a Hall of Famer, obviously, 1987 International Tennis Hall of Famer. He's also, Omar talked about the modern game. He is responsible for changing the modern game because he was the first tennis player to actively use both hands on his forehand and his backhand. He introduced the double backhand into tennis. And then obviously he's known for probably the greatest Wimbledon final ever with him and McEnroe. McEnroe was his rival, and that 1980 Wimbledon final is one of the greatest tennis matches ever.
My son has a one-handed backhand. That two-hand shit. Dad, who's your biggie?
My biggie, it was Monica Seles.
Good one.
Ding, 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 ding.
And the reason why I picked, it's obvious. But let's talk about it a little bit. So
Biggie died, she lived.
yeah, although she had 9 Grand Slams, which is a lot, her trajectory was through the roof. She had 8 Grand Slams before her 20th birthday. She won 3 straight French Opens. She won the U.S. and Australian Open back-to-back in all that same time. And she also defeated Steffi Graf 3 out of 4 finals.
Yeah.
In Grand Slams. So that leads us to how she became Biggie. Because of her dominance over Steffi, there was an obsessed stan / fan for Steffi that actually jumped onto the court and stabbed her in the middle of a match.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yo, she was that messed up her whole life.
That was insane. So she had a run to where she dominated everything, and she had 9. She only won 1 after the stabbing, and then injuries started to pile up, and she just wasn't the same.
She just was. She was
Mentally
mentally was gone. Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine, with your back to the crowd, having to look over?
It's amazing
for real.
For real, it's amazing. It's actually, now that I think about it as an adult, it's amazing she came back because that's crazy.
That shit was on live TV.
That was
wasn't
on
it?
live TV.
I almost think she kind of had to come back. She's a competitor, but once she came back, you could tell it was different.
Yeah.
You could tell it was different.
And not to even mention the crazy shit she went through with her country and exile and changing citizenship and all that. But.
I mean, I know we were on this tennis, but are we gonna get to these hot topics? Get a little basketball, a little playoff time.
Omar's done.
Yeah.
Hey, golf
clap for Omar.
Big sigh
There
of
you
relief
go,
that went out
Omar.
with Omar.
There you go, Omar.
Let's talk about some of these drubbings.
30 points.
Yeah. We had a 30-point comeback and we had a 30-point doo-wop.
Yeah. I think it's falling into form exactly how we think it is.
Indiana, good night.
But that Indiana shit, that's crazy. You up by 30 points in the playoffs. You got to hold on to that one.
Here's the thing, and this is why it's so important. If you are the lower seed in the NBA playoffs, if you have an opportunity to get one of those first 2 games, you absolutely got to get them. And especially against a team like the Cavaliers, because I had a feeling that a virtuoso performance from LeBron James was coming tonight, because he knows. Listen, we go get the series now.
Because it's over.
And he had 41, 13, and 12. He brought the virtuoso performance, and it's done.
And they don't even have to play that hard on Game 4 to try and win.
No, just stay close.
Because Indiana's screwed now.
Yeah, well,
and they know they're screwed.
Yeah, they stay close. You stay close, make it a 4th quarter game, and all of a sudden, guys are going to start to think about vacations.
And Paul George is thinking about vacation.
Get the fishing hats going.
He's thinking about L.A.
Yeah.
That's what he's
baby.
thinking about.
Come on home.
Come home, baby.
home.
Come home, baby.
PG, come on home.
Then you had Milwaukee
We talked about
and Toronto.
Shout out to Skinny for giving the Greek Freak a new nickname. It's actually really not new. He just calls him the Freak Greek.
The Freak Greek.
Hey, you see him block that shot with his elbow, though?
Hey, can anybody here pronounce his name?
No.
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
There you
You
go.
said it correctly. Well, his first name's easy.
Yeah. We weren't talking about that one, but I think Kenyon had to say both to get into the rhythm.
Yeah, you do it.
Yo, I get 8 up when I try to say his last name. I'm not going to even try. I disrespect that man
that is
like
exactly it. You can't just roll out the bed saying his last name.
Yeah.
You got to get the Giannis.
Well, hopefully you're not rolled out of bed saying any of his.
And on that note, we checking out. Thank you for visiting Confirmation Bias. We hope you enjoyed the show.
Come here, man. Jump in the
Shout
camera,
out
man.
to Ethan / Jeff T. We told you on the last show.
T. Jr.
There he is right there. Follow us everywhere on social media at The League AM. Visit our website, theleagueam.com. Go to our YouTube channel, The League Ambassadors. Like us. But as Devin says, sharing is caring. That's better than the first time. And we'll see you on the other side. Have a great weekend.
Peace.
Yep.